The great warship Eternal Dawn moved through space like a metal mountain. Inside its cold halls, Commander Zekthar stood tall on his 4 legs. His green scales caught the blue light from the ship's systems. Around him, other alien beings worked at their stations. The bridge was full of different creatures. Some looked like giant insects with clicking sounds. Others were made of floating gas that glowed in the dark. A few were like walking crystals that sang when they talked. All of them served in the Galactic Coalition fleet. Zekthar looked at the reports on his screen. The human colonies on the edge of space had fallen easily. Too easily, he thought. The humans had fought hard, but their weapons were simple. Their ships were slow. Most of them ran away when the real fighting started. "Bring the prisoner," Zekthar said in his deep voice. 2 insect soldiers clicked their way into the room. Between them walked a human male. He was young, maybe 30 years old. His uniform was torn and dirty. Blood had dried on his face, but his eyes were still clear and strong. "I am Jake Martinez," the human said before anyone asked. "Lieutenant, United Earth Defense Force." One of the gas creatures made a sound like wind through pipes. It was laughing. "Look how small it is," the creature said. "No claws, no thick skin, no natural weapons at all." Zekthar moved closer to Jake. The human did not step back. This was interesting. Most creatures showed fear when facing a Vorthak warrior. "You are from the 3rd planet in this system," Zekthar said. "Earth." "Yes," Jake replied. "Your people fight poorly. They run when they should stand. They surrender when they could win. This is why we will take your world easily." Jake looked around the room at all the alien faces watching him. Then he did something none of them expected. He smiled. "You don't know much about humans, do you? A crystal being made musical sounds that meant laughter. This little thing wants to teach us about war. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. Maybe you should learn about the ones you're trying to conquer," Jake said. His voice was calm and steady. "Let me tell you about my people." Zekthar waved his clawed hand. "Speak. Your words will not change your fate." Jake stood straighter, even with his hands tied behind his back. "Long ago, there was a place called Thermopylae. 300 men from Sparta faced an army of thousands. They knew they would die. They stayed anyway. They fought until the last man fell. Several aliens made noise that sounded like laughter. One insect clicked rapidly, which meant it found something very funny. "Fairy tales," it buzzed. "Made-up stories to make weak creatures feel strong. In a place called the Alamo," Jake continued, "less than 200 men faced thousands of enemies. They could have run. They could have given up. Instead, they fought for days. When the walls fell, they kept fighting. None of them lived, but they made the enemy pay for every step." The gas creature swirled in patterns that showed amusement. "More stories. Do you think we are children to be scared by ghost tales?" Jake's smile grew wider. "At Stalingrad, human soldiers fought for every room, every floor, every pile of rocks. When they ran out of bullets, they used knives. When they had no knives, they used their hands. The city was destroyed, but they never gave up. The enemy left in defeat." Zekthar felt something strange. The humans' words carried a weight that made them feel true. But this could not be right. The humans they had fought were not like this. "These are myths from your past," he said. "Your people now are different. They are weak." "Are we?" Jake asked. "At a place called Iwo Jima, my people fought for a small island for weeks. Every cave, every tunnel, every rock had to be taken by force. The enemy had nowhere to run, so they fought until death. My people did the same. Both sides knew only one would leave that place alive." The crystal being's song became uncertain. "You speak of old wars, ancient history. Your species has grown soft with peace." Jake shook his head. "You think we fight differently now? In the mountains of Afghanistan, human soldiers fought enemies who knew every rock and tree. The enemy had no uniforms, no big bases, just the will to fight. It took years, but my people never stopped trying." "Enough," Zekthar said, but his voice was not as sure as before. These stories prove nothing. We have studied your military. Your ships are weak. Your weapons are simple. Your people have no unity. No unity. Jake laughed, and the sound was not friendly. When someone attacks one human family, other humans come from across the world to help. When enemies threatened our freedom, people who had never met died for each other. We have a saying, no one gets left behind. The insect soldier clicked nervously. It speaks of impossible things. No species fights this way. All creatures know when to surrender. Humans don't, Jake said simply. We have another saying, death before dishonor. We have one more. Give me liberty or give me death. We mean these words. The room became quiet. Even the humming of the ship's engine seemed louder. Zekthar looked at the other officers. Some of them were not laughing anymore. Your stories are entertaining, Zekthar said finally. But stories do not stop plasma, cannons. Myths do not protect planets. We will take your Earth and your people will kneel or die. Jake's eyes became hard like stones. Then you'll learn the difference between stories and history. Every tale I told you really happened. Every one of them shows you what humans do when you back us into a corner. Take him away, Zekthar ordered. As the guards moved Jake toward the door, he called back over his shoulder. You want to know what humans are really like? You're about to find out. Earth isn't some outer colony. Earth is home, and humans defend their home differently than anything else. The door closed behind the prisoner. The alien officers stood in silence for a long moment. Finally, one of them spoke. The creature tells interesting stories, the gas being said, but its glow was dimmer now. Zekthar nodded slowly. Something about the human's words bothered him. The way Jake spoke, the confidence in his voice, the smile that never went away. It did not match what they knew about defeated enemies. Prepare the fleet, Zekthar ordered. We attack Earth in 2 days. But as his officers left to carry out orders, Zekthar found himself thinking about the humans' stories. Were they really just myths? Or was there something about this species that the coalition had not understood? Outside in the corridor, Jake Martinez walked between his guards. His hands were still tied, but he was not worried. In his mind, he could see Earth's hidden defenses coming online. The trap was almost ready. The aliens thought they were hunting sheep. Soon they would learn they had found wolves. In the deepest part of the eternal dawn, ancient keeper Morden waited in his chamber. The old Zerathi looked like a mountain of living crystal. His body was made of clear stone that had grown for thousands of years. When light passed through him, it made rainbow patterns on the walls. Morden had lived longer than anyone else on the ship. He had seen the rise and fall of whole civilizations. Most of the crew forgot he was there. They thought he was just decoration, like an old statue that nobody moved. But Morden heard everything that happened on the ship. His crystal body picked up sounds and vibrations from all over the vessel. He had listened to the human prisoners' words, and those words made his inner light change from blue to orange. Orange was the color of worry for his people. A young officer brought him the recording of Jake Martinez's interrogation. Morden played it 3 times. Each time, his glow became brighter and more orange. Finally, he sent a message to Commander Zekthar. I must speak with you immediately. Bring your senior staff. An hour later, Zekthar entered Morden's chamber with 4 other officers. The crystal being's orange light filled the room like fire. None of them had ever seen Morden glow this color before. Ancient One, Zekthar said with respect. You wish to see us? Morden's voice was like music played on glass bells. The human prisoner. I listened to his words. You must stop the attack on Earth. The insect officer, Captain Clickstalk, made clicking sounds of confusion. Ancient One, the human told old stories. Myths from his people's past, they mean nothing. They mean everything, Morden replied. His light pulsed brighter. Because they are not myths. They are history, and I know this because I was there. The room became very quiet. Even the ship's air recyclers seemed to stop humming. What do you mean, Ancient One? Zekthar asked. Morden's crystal body shifted slightly. When Zarathi were very old, moving took great effort. 300 of your years ago, I was part of the first coalition mission to the Sol system. We were explorers then, not conquerors. We wanted to study the species on the third planet. The gas officer, Lieutenant Nephalon, swirled uncertainly. The records show no contact with humans before this mission. The records were sealed, Morden said. What we found was classified, at the highest levels. I am the only one still alive who remembers. Zekthar felt cold fear creeping up his spine. What did you find, Ancient One? Morden's light dimmed as he remembered. We observed the humans from space for many cycles. They were fighting each other in something they called World War II. We watched millions of them die, but they never stopped fighting. Even when their cities burned, they kept building weapons. Even when they were starving, they shared food with their soldiers. The crystal being paused, gathering strength to continue. We saw things that made no sense. Human soldiers would run toward enemy fire to save one wounded companion. They would fight for weeks in conditions that would kill most species in days. When they ran out of ammunition, they used bayonets. When the bayonets broke, they used rocks and fists. Captain Clickstock clicked nervously. All species fight hard when defending their territory. Not like this, Morden said firmly. We watched a human city called Leningrad under siege for almost 2 years. The people ate leather and tree bark to survive, but they never surrendered. They ate the glue from book bindings. They made soup from wallpaper. Children as young as 10 years worked in weapons factories while bombs fell around them. The officers looked at each other with growing unease. We saw another battle. Morden continued. A place called the Warsaw Ghetto. A few thousand humans with almost no weapons fought against a modern army for weeks. They knew they could not win. They knew they would all die. They fought anyway, just to prove they would not go quietly. Zekthar's scales turned a darker shade of green, which meant he was afraid. These sound like the stories the prisoner told. Because they are the same stories, Morden replied. The human did not lie or exaggerate. Every word he spoke was true. And there are thousands more stories just like them. Lieutenant Nephalon's gaseous form flickered with worry. But Ancient One, that was long ago. The humans we fought at the colonies ran away. They were not like the warriors you describe. Morden's orange glow became almost red. That is what concerns me most. The humans we observed were fighting each other. They had no common enemy to unite them. Now we have given them one. We have attacked their colonies and taken their people prisoner. We have made every human on Earth our enemy. The crystal being shifted again, this time with more urgency than his age usually allowed. There is something else. Something I did, not put in my original reports because I thought it was impossible. What? Zekthar asked. We watched them study our observation ships. Even though we were cloaked and hidden, they began to notice us. Their scientists and military leaders started pointing telescopes at empty space where we were hiding. They were learning to see us. The insect officer's clicking became rapid and high-pitched, which meant panic. That is impossible. No species develops that kind of awareness without generations of space travel. Humans are not like other species, Morden said. They adapt faster than anything we have ever seen. When they encountered a new type of enemy aircraft, they would copy it and improve it within months. When they faced new tactics, they created counter-tactics even faster. Morden's light began to pulse in the rhythm that meant extreme danger among his people. By the end of our observation period, the humans were actively hunting for us. They had developed new radar systems and were sending signals into space, trying to make contact. We left their system immediately and classified all information about them. Zekthar felt his hearts beating faster. His species had 2 hearts, and when both started racing, it meant real terror. Why was this not in our intelligence reports? About the invasion? Because it was classified and forgotten, Morden admitted. The coalition decided to mark the Sol system as off-limits for first contact and moved on to easier targets. But that was 300 years ago. The humans have had 3 centuries to grow stronger. The room fell silent except for the nervous sounds each species made when frightened. clicking, humming, whistling, and the scraping of claws on metal. Ancient One, Zekthar said slowly. What do you think we will find when we reach Earth? Morden's entire body flashed bright red for just a moment, the Zarathi color for mortal danger. I think we will find that everything the human prisoner told us was not a warning about their past. I think it was a promise about their future. The crystal being's voice became urgent. Cancel the attack, Commander. Send a message to the Coalition Fleet Command. Tell them we need to reassess the humans. Tell them we may have made a terrible mistake. But Zekthar shook his head sadly. Ancient One, the attack fleet is too large to stop now. 1,200 ships are already moving toward Earth. The Coalition has committed too many resources to turn back. Morden's light faded to a dim, sad blue. Then may the ancestors have mercy on us all. We are not attacking sheep. We are walking into the den of the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. As the officers left his chamber, Morden began to glow orange again. He had lived for 3,000 years and survived the fall of empires. But for the first time in his long life, he was truly afraid. In his detention cell, Jake Martinez sat quietly on his metal bench. He did not know about Morden's warning, but he could feel the change in the ship's atmosphere. The guards were more nervous. The officers talked in whisper. Jake smiled in the darkness. Earth's defenses were ready. The trap was set. Soon these aliens would learn what humans meant when they said, "Come and take them." Commander Zekthar stood in his private quarters, staring out at the stars. Ancient Keeper Morden's words kept running through his mind. The old crystal being had never been wrong about anything in all the years Zekthar had served with him. But the invasion fleet was already moving. 1,200 coalition ships were heading toward Earth. Too many resources, too many lives committed to stop now. Still, Morden's warning made him uneasy. Zekthar made a decision. He would order a complete review of all human military data. If there was something dangerous about this species, he needed to know before they reached Earth. He called his science officer, Dr. Kixandra. She was a Clixian, one of the insect people. But unlike most of her species, she had studied alien biology for over 200 years. Her mind was sharp and careful. "Doctor," Zekthar said when she entered his quarters, "I want you to analyze everything we know about human warfare. Use the ship's main computer. Look at their entire history." Dr. Kixandra's antenna twitched, which meant she was curious. "Commander, we already studied their military capabilities. Their technology is primitive compared to ours. Study their behavior, not their technology," Zekthar replied. "Look at how they fight, not what they fight with." The doctor clicked her agreement and left to begin the work. Zekthar also sent orders to the ship's AI system. He wanted every human battle in their database analyzed for patterns. 3 days later, Dr. Kixandra returned to his quarters. Her usual bright green color had faded to a dull brown, which meant she was worried. In her forearms, she carried several data tablets. "Commander," she said, her voice clicking with concern, "you need to see this." She placed the first tablet on his desk. "I analyzed over 3,000 human conflicts from the last 5,000 years. The patterns are disturbing." Zekthar picked up the tablet and began reading. The numbers made no sense at first. Then he understood what he was seeing, and his scales turned pale green with shock. "These casualty rates," he said slowly, "they cannot be correct." "I checked them 5 times," Dr. Kixandra replied. "Humans regularly continue fighting at loss rates that would cause any other species to surrender or flee. At the Battle of the Somme, they took 60,000 casualties in a single day and attacked again the next morning." She handed him another tablet. "At Gettysburg, both human armies lost over a third of their soldiers in 3 days. Neither side retreated. They kept fighting until one side simply could not continue." Zekthar felt his stomachs twist. His species had 3 stomachs, and when all of them felt sick at once, it meant something was very wrong. "What about their modern wars?" Dr. Kixandra's color became even more brown. "Worse," In Vietnam, human soldiers fought in conditions that would kill most species within days. Jungle diseases, extreme heat, constant ambush attacks, they fought for years in those conditions. But surely they surrendered when the situation became impossible. That is what makes them so dangerous, the doctor replied. They do not seem to understand the concept of impossible. At Khe Sanh, a few thousand humans held off 50,000 enemies for 2 months. They were surrounded, outnumbered, and cut off from supplies. They fought anyway. Zekthar put down the tablet and looked at his science officer. Doctor, in your professional opinion, what kind of species fights this way? Dr. Kixandra was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was very soft. Commander, I have studied the biology and behavior of over 400 species. In my opinion, humans are not entirely sane by galactic standards. She picked up another tablet. Look at this data from their physiology. When humans are threatened or injured, their bodies produce chemicals that block pain and increase strength. They can continue fighting with wounds that would incapacitate most other beings. All species have survival responses, Zekthar said. Not like this, Dr. Kixandra replied. Most species produce chemicals that make them want to flee or hide. When badly injured, human chemistry makes them want to fight more aggressively. They become more dangerous when wounded, not less. She showed him brain scans from captured human soldiers. See these patterns? When humans are protecting something they care about, especially other humans, their brain activity changes. They stop feeling fear normally. They stop calculating odds of survival. They enter a state where only victory or death matter. Zekthar studied the scans with growing alarm. This looks almost like a disease. It is their normal state when threatened, Dr. Kixandra said. Commander, we may be dealing with a species that is biologically programmed for total war. While they talked, other reports were coming in from around the ship. The human prisoners were behaving strangely. Instead of showing signs of defeat or despair, they were organizing themselves into military units, even in captivity. Captain Lisa Brooks, the highest-ranking human prisoner, had somehow taken command of all the other captured humans. She was running training exercises in the detention area and conducting briefings about ship layout and alien capabilities. The guards reported that the humans spent their time sharing information about coalition technology and discussing escape plans, but they were not planning to run away. They were planning to take control of parts of the ship. Jake Martinez had become the humans' intelligence officer. He was teaching the others everything he had learned during his interrogation. He told them about the different alien species, their strengths and weaknesses, and how they might be defeated. The big lizard people are strong but slow, Jake explained to his fellow prisoners. The insect ones are fast, but their joints can be broken easily. The gas creatures can be dispersed if you create enough air current. Captain Brooks listened carefully. What about their weapons? Energy-based mostly. But I noticed something. When they captured me, their weapons had stun settings. They want prisoners alive. That means they will hesitate to use full power against us. Sergeant Danny Mitchell, a tough-looking man with gray hair, smiled grimly. So they are not used to fighting enemies who fight to the death. Exactly, Jake replied. They expect surrender. They expect negotiation. They do not expect us to keep fighting no matter what. Corporal Amy Foster, a young woman with sharp eyes, raised her hand. What about the ship's systems? Did you see anything we could use? Jake nodded. Their technology is advanced, but it is also automated. They rely on computers for most functions. If we could disrupt their systems, we might cause serious damage. The conversation was being recorded by hidden monitors, and the recordings were sent directly to Commander Zekthar. When he listened to them, his fear grew stronger. They are planning to sabotage my ship, he told Dr. Kixandra. Commander, she replied, they are doing exactly what their history says they would do. They are adapting to their situation and looking for ways to attack their enemies. Zekthar called for his security chief, a massive creature called Gruktar. The security chief was from a warrior species that had conquered dozens of worlds. He was used to handling dangerous prisoners. Double the guards on the humans, Zekthar ordered. Watch them constantly. Groktar made a sound like grinding stones, which was his species' way of laughing. Commander, they are 5 small creatures in a locked room. What harm can they do? Dr. Kixandra showed Groktar the data about human behavior in captivity. In their history, small groups of human prisoners have escaped from secure facilities, stolen enemy equipment, and caused massive damage to their captors. She pulled up a file about human prisoners of war. At Cabanatuan, 500 human prisoners were rescued by other humans who traveled through enemy territory for weeks. At Kolditz Castle, human prisoners built a glider to escape from a mountaintop fortress. Groktar's laughter stopped. These are real events, all documented and verified, Dr. Kixandra replied. The security chief left to increase patrols, but Zekthar could see he was troubled. Everyone who learned about human behavior became worried. Late that night, Zekthar stood alone on his bridge, looking at the star charts. Earth was still 2 days away. Behind him he could feel the presence of ancient keeper Morden, who had come to join him. You have read the reports, Morden said. It was not a question. Yes, Ancient One. Everything you told us appears to be true. Morden's crystal body glowed soft blue, the color of sadness. I lived through the first war between the Vorthak and the Clixians. I saw the Nephili conquest of the Outer Rim. I watched the great rebellion of the Zerathi colonies. But I have never seen anything like what the humans do to each other, and now we have made ourselves their common enemy. Zekthar nodded slowly. Is there no way to avoid this battle? The fleet is too large to recall, Morden replied. But perhaps we can still find a way to negotiate with them. Ancient One, based on everything we have learned, do you think humans will negotiate? Morden was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. Jake Martinez gave us the answer to that question. He said humans have a saying, give me liberty or give me death. I do not think those are words spoken by a species that compromises with invaders. As the 2 old warriors stood together, looking toward Earth, both of them wondered the same thing. Had the Coalition fleet come to conquer a planet, or had they flown into a trap set by the most dangerous species in the galaxy? Ancient Keeper Morden moved slowly through the corridors of the Eternal Dawn. His crystal body caught the light from the ship's walls, but instead of his usual calm blue glow, he pulsed with urgent orange light. The old Zerathi had made a decision that would change everything. He found Commander Zekthar in the war room studying battle plans with his senior staff. Maps of Earth's solar system covered the walls. Red markers showed where the Coalition fleet would strike first. Commander, Morden said, his musical voice carrying a note they had never heard before. I must speak with you alone. What I have to say will change our entire mission. Zekthar looked at the Ancient Keeper's orange glow and felt his blood run cold. In all his years of service, he had never seen Morden this agitated. Officers, leave us. When they were alone, Morden's crystal form shifted to face Zekthar directly. I lied to you before, not intentionally, but I did not tell you the complete truth about our first contact with humans. Zekthar's scales turned pale. What do you mean, Ancient One? We did not just observe the humans 300 years ago, Morden said slowly. We tested them. The words hung in the air like poison gas. Zekthar felt his heart skip beats. Tested them how? Morden's light dimmed with shame. The Coalition Council decided the humans might be useful as soldiers for our armies. They wanted to see how the species would react to a small-scale invasion. 12 ships were sent to attack one of their military installations. Zekthar sat down heavily in his command chair. What happened? The humans destroyed 4 of our ships and captured 2 others, Morden replied. But that was not the worst part. The crystal being paused, gathering strength to continue. Commander, the humans did not just fight us off. They studied the wreckage of our ships. Within 6 months, they had reverse-engineered our shield technology and improved it. Zekthar felt sick. Improved it? They created shields that were 30% more efficient than our original design, Morden said. Then they began hunting for more of our ships to capture. They sent signals into deep space, trying to draw us back. The ancient keepers. Glow became bright red, the color of extreme danger. Commander, we were not dealing with a primitive species. We were dealing with a military intelligence that learned faster than anything we had ever seen. Zekthar stood up and began pacing, his claws clicking on the metal floor. Why was this not in our mission briefing? Because it was classified at the highest levels, Mordun admitted. The Council decided humans were too dangerous to contact again. They marked the Sol system as forbidden territory and ordered all records sealed. But now we are attacking them anyway. Because the current Council forgot the old warnings, Mordun said sadly. The officials who made that decision are long dead. The new leaders saw only the reports about primitive human technology, not the warnings about human adaptability. Zekthar stopped pacing and looked directly at Mordun. Ancient One, what do you think we will find when we reach Earth? Before Mordun could answer, alarms began ringing throughout the ship. The voice of the ship's AI filled the bridge. Long range. Sensors detect anomalous readings in the Sol system. Commander to the bridge immediately. Zekthar and Mordun rushed to the bridge, where they found the crew staring at their displays in confusion. The sensor operator, a young Clixian named Tikvar, clicked nervously as she reported, Commander, our deep space scans of Earth are showing impossible readings. What kind of readings? Zekthar demanded. Tikvar's antenna drooped with worry. Sir, Earth appears to have orbital defense platforms that were not there in our previous scans. Massive ones. They are hidden behind some kind of stealth technology we have never seen before. Zekthar felt the floor seem to drop beneath his feet. How many platforms? At least 50, sir. Possibly more. And Commander? Tikvar's voice became very small. They are all aimed at our approach vector. The bridge became silent except for the humming of machines. Every officer stared at the displays showing Earth's hidden defenses. There is more, Commander, the AI announced. Analysis of Earth's electromagnetic emissions shows technology levels far beyond what was reported in our intelligence files. Dr. Kixandra rushed onto the bridge, carrying several data tablets. Her exoskeleton was clicking rapidly with excitement and fear. Commander, you must see this. Our sensors picked up human fleet movements. They have ships hidden throughout their solar system, behind asteroids, inside moon craters, even in the rings of their outer planets. She handed him a tablet, showing sensor readings. Sir, the human fleet is not just defending Earth. They have been tracking our approach for weeks. They know exactly where we are and how many ships we have. Zekthar looked at the data and felt his world crumble. The humans had not been caught by surprise. They had been waiting. How is this possible? He whispered. Ancient Keeper Mordun's voice was heavy with regret. Because we gave them 300 years to prepare for our return. Dr. Kixandra pulled up another display. Commander, there is something else. Our analysis of the captured human prisoners shows their stress hormone levels are all wrong. What do you mean? They are not afraid, she said quietly. Their body chemistry shows excitement, anticipation, even satisfaction. They are not acting like defeated prisoners. They are acting like soldiers who have completed a successful mission. The horrible truth began to dawn on Zekthar. A mission? Jake Martinez had not been captured by accident. He had allowed himself to be taken. The human prisoners were not defeated enemies. They were intelligence agents who had learned everything about coalition ships and capabilities. Bring me the human prisoner recordings, Zekthar ordered. As they replayed Jake Martinez's interrogation, everything became clear. The human had not been telling them stories to sound impressive. He had been studying their reactions, learning which aliens were leaders, which were scientists, and which were warriors. When Jake talked about human military history, he had been watching carefully to see which stories worried his captors. He was conducting psychological warfare even while tied up and outnumbered. Sir, Tikvar called from her station. Incoming transmission from the human fleet. Put it on screen. The display showed a human female in a military uniform. She was middle-aged with gray hair and sharp eyes. Her expression was calm and confident. "I am Admiral Helen Carter of the United Earth Defense Force," she said. "You are Commander Zekathar of the Coalition ship Eternal Dawn. We have been monitoring your communications." Zekathar felt his blood freeze. "How do you know my name?" The human smiled, and it was not a friendly expression. "Lieutenant Martinez has been very informative. He is not your prisoner, Commander. He is our intelligence officer, and he has completed his mission." On the screen behind Admiral Carter, Zekathar could see displays showing detailed information about every ship in the Coalition fleet. Ship names, weapon capabilities, crew numbers, everything. "You wanted to study humans?" Admiral Carter continued. "Now you have your chance. You are about to learn what happens when you threaten our home." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in shocked silence. Dr. Kixandra was the first to speak. "Commander, we need to warn the fleet. This is not an invasion anymore, it is a trap." Zekathar tried to send messages to the other Coalition ships, but the human jamming systems blocked most communications. Only a few ships received his warnings, and it was already too late. On his displays, he could see human ships emerging from hiding places throughout the solar system. They had turned their entire star system into a fortress, and the Coalition fleet was flying directly into it. Ancient Keeper Morden's voice was barely a whisper. "Ancestors, forgive us. We have awakened something that should have been left sleeping." In Bao, the detention area, Jake Martinez smiled as he heard the ship's alarms. His mission was complete. The aliens now knew they were not hunting prey. They had become the hunted. Captain Lisa Brooks looked at her fellow prisoners. "Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to show our hosts what humans do when someone attacks our home." The trap was sprung and Earth was ready for war. The first human ships appeared like ghosts materializing from empty space. One moment, the Coalition fleet's sensors showed clear void around Earth. The next moment, hundreds of human vessels surrounded them from all directions. Commander Zekathar watched his tactical displays with growing horror. The humans had not just hidden their ships. They had hidden an entire fleet that rivaled the size of the Coalition force. "How many?" he asked his sensor officer. Tikvar's antenna trembled as she read the displays. 800 ships, sir. Maybe more. They keep appearing from new hiding spots." The human vessels were unlike anything in the Coalition database. They moved with purpose and coordination that spoke of years of planning. These were not the primitive ships they had expected to fight. "Incoming transmission from the lead human ship," the communications officer announced. On screen, Admiral Helen Carter appeared again, but this time she was standing on the bridge of a massive warship. Behind her, human officers worked at stations with calm efficiency. "Commander Zekathar," she said, "you are surrounded and outnumbered. This is your only chance to surrender." Zekathar found his voice. "We have 1,200 ships. You cannot match our firepower." Admiral Carter smiled coldly. "You have 1,200 ships scattered across our solar system, divided into smaller groups, and cut off from each other by our jamming fields. We have 800 ships working together, with perfect coordination. Do the math." She gestured to something off-screen. "But numbers are not what will defeat you today. Lieutenant Martinez told me about your interrogation. You wanted to know about human myths and legends. Let me show you what they really mean." The transmission ended, and the battle began. The first human attack came from every direction at once. Instead of the chaotic fighting the Coalition expected, the human ships moved like parts of a single organism. When Coalition ships tried to form defensive formations, human vessels appeared behind them. When they tried to retreat, humans blocked their escape routes. On the Eternal Dawn, alarms screamed as human weapons struck their shields. But something was wrong. The human ships were not trying to destroy the Coalition vessels quickly. They were systematically disabling them. "They are targeting our engines and weapons," Dr. Kixandra reported. "They want to capture us alive." Before Zekathar could respond, explosions echoed through the ship's corridors. The human prisoners had begun their assault from within. Captain Lisa Brooks led the breakout from the detention center. She and her team had spent days studying the ship's layout through careful observation and questioning of their guards. When the external battle began, they struck. Jake Martinez had taught them well. The Vorthak guards were strong but slow. The humans moved fast, using captured weapons and improvised tools. Amy Foster used her knowledge of electronics to override door locks. Danny Mitchell used his combat experience to set up ambushes in the narrow corridors. Remember, Lisa Brooks told her team as they fought their way toward the ship's critical systems. We are not just trying to escape. We are gathering intelligence and causing maximum damage to help our fleet. The aliens had never faced enemies like this. When human ships were damaged, they did not retreat. They kept fighting with whatever weapons still worked. When human boarding parties were outnumbered, they did not surrender. They fought harder. Groktar, the massive security chief, found himself facing 5 human prisoners in the ship's engine room. He was twice their size and armed with military-grade weapons. He expected them to run or beg for mercy. Instead, Jake Martinez smiled and said, "You wanted to know about human legends? Here is one. We do not go quietly into that good night." The humans attacked with a ferocity that shocked Groktar. They used everything as weapons: tools, pipes, even pieces of broken machinery. When Amy Foster was wounded, she did not fall back. She fought more aggressively. When Danny Mitchell's weapon ran out of power, he threw it at an alien guard and picked up a metal bar. Groktar had fought in dozens of battles across the galaxy. He had never seen anything like the way humans fought when cornered. They seemed to become stronger when injured, more dangerous when desperate. On the bridge, Ancient Keeper Mordun watched the battle displays with growing sadness. "Commander, we must surrender before more lives are lost." Zekthar looked at the tactical screens. Half the Coalition fleet was disabled or destroyed. The humans were winning, and they were doing it without the massive casualties that such battles usually required. They fought with precision and intelligence, not just courage. "How are they so coordinated?" he asked. Dr. Kixandra had been analyzing human battle tactics throughout the fight. "Commander, they are not fighting like separate ships. They are fighting like organs of a single body. Each ship knows what every other ship is doing." She showed him intercepted human communications. They have a command structure that adapts in real time. When a human ship is destroyed, the others immediately adjust their positions to fill the gap. When they identify a weak point in our defenses, every ship in range focuses on it instantly. "This level of coordination should be impossible," Zekthar said. "For most species, yes," Dr. Kixandra replied. "But humans have been fighting wars for their entire history. They have learned to work together in ways we never developed." The final blow came when Jake Martinez and his team reached the Eternal Dawn's main computer core. Instead of trying to destroy it, they began uploading something into the system. "What are they doing?" Zekthar demanded. His computer officer, a Zarathi named Silrand, studied the readings with growing alarm. "Sir, they are not destroying our systems. They are rewriting them. The human technology is integrating with our computers." Within minutes, the humans had taken control of the ship's navigation, weapons, and communications. But they did not turn the systems against the Coalition crew. Instead, they began broadcasting surrender signals to the human fleet. Admiral Carter's voice filled the ship's communication system. "Attention Coalition forces. Your flagship has surrendered. Your fleet is defeated. You have 2 choices: surrender now or be destroyed." Commander Zekthar looked around his bridge. His crew was defeated, his ship was captured, and his fleet was scattered. But the humans were offering surrender instead of death. "Why?" he asked Jake Martinez, who had appeared on the bridge with his rescue team. Jake looked tired, but satisfied. "Because that is what humans do. We fight to win, not to destroy. When our enemies surrender, we accept it." "Even after we attacked your colonies?" "Even then," Jake replied. "But now you know the truth about humans. We are not the primitive species you thought we were. We have been preparing for this day since your people first visited our system." "Admiral?" Carter appeared on the main screen again. "Commander Zekthar, the battle is over. You fought bravely, but you fought humans on our home ground. That was your mistake." Zekthar nodded slowly. What happens now? Now we talk, Admiral Carter said. Your people came here to conquer us. Instead, you have learned that humans prefer cooperation to conflict. But we will never again allow anyone to threaten our home. She gestured to displays showing human ships throughout the solar system. You wanted to know about human myths and legends. Here's the truth. Every story your prisoner told you was real. Every battle he described actually happened. And now you are part of human history. Ancient. Keeper Morden stepped forward, his crystal body glowing with respect. Admiral, we underestimated your species. We thought we were hunting prey. We found predators. Admiral Carter's expression softened slightly. Ancient One, humans are not predators. We are protectors. We fight only when threatened. But when someone threatens our home and our families, we fight with everything we have. Jake Martinez looked at Commander Zekthar. You asked me about human myths. I told you about our past. Now you have seen our present. Do you want to know about our future? Zekthar nodded. Humans are going to the stars, Jake said simply. We have been preparing for decades. Your attack has just given us a reason to accelerate our plans. Admiral Carter confirmed it. The Coalition thought they could conquer Earth and use us as soldiers. Instead, they have shown us that we need to take our place among the galactic powers. Not as conquerors, but as equals. She looked directly at Zekthar. Commander, you came here expecting to find sheep. You found wolves. But wolves can be allies, if you treat them with respect. As the Coalition survivors were taken to human ships for medical treatment and repatriation, Zekthar realized that everything had changed. Humans were no longer an unknown species on the edge of space. They had announced themselves to the galaxy in a way that no one would ever forget. Jake Martinez stood on the bridge of a human warship, watching the Coalition fleet prepare to leave the solar system. The aliens would return home with a message. Humans were not to be underestimated again, but they would also carry another message. Humans preferred friendship to warfare, cooperation to conquest. The choice of which message the galaxy remembered would depend on how other species chose to approach humanity in the future. As Earth's sun shone on the victorious human fleet, Jake smiled and spoke to the stars. You wanted to know about human legends. This is where the new ones begin.